Rochester, New York, the home of Blackfriars Theater, the Carousel at Charlotte Park, and several Redbox rentals littering my living room. This is FC3 Monkey Business, your one-stop shop for everything geeky. Starring myself, Chris Frank, the lovely and talented Tanya Metris, and the equally lovely and talented Billy DeTore, live in Technicolor. And here we are yet again. It's podcast day, and I'm your host, Chris. Hi.
Wow. Here comes my cat Dora to hopefully not step on the keyboard and disconnect.
Don't step on the keyboard.
Oh no! Go somewhere. Thank you.
Do you like that? I rubbed some funk on it today. It was, oh yeah, let's get into it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not going stir crazy at all. No.
None of us are.
Yes. How you guys doing?
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Tanya.
Producer
Hi,
Dan.
Dan?
Hi.
That has, I just realized that has almost the same amount of syllables as lieutenant. Producer Dan. Producer Dan.
That can be my new name.
I love it. It's so cool. All right. And Miss Tanya, working away over there. How you doing, honey?
Not too bad. Got my technical glitches that sent me over the edge this morning for work figured out. And,
Good.
Not too bad.
So you were able to recover that file? Because I knew you were screaming about that earlier.
Thank God for document restore tool, whatever. Because the person that was able to get it, I did not want to have to recreate that whole document for the different pieces. Because there's a lot of pieces to an IEP, and most of it's all filled in template-wise that the district does, but then there's present levels of performance for academic, social, physical management that staff have to fill in, like a summary narrative for each section. And that was the part that was done in March. Was missing, and the goals. So
gotcha.
Fortunately, they were able to recover it, and yay, thank God for that person. She rocks. So.
And one less thing you had to stress out about.
Oh, yeah, no, it was not. So.
Billy!
Hi, Chris.
How you doing, Bill?
I'm good. We watched Solo today.
Oh, yeah? What'd you think of it?
I'd seen it before. Susan hadn't seen it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it again.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I think it got a raw deal.
I agree with you. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. It will not appear during our main conversation during this podcast today because, well, one, it's not a sequel. Two, it's really a good movie. So I don't see it. But I got to tell you, I am absolutely loving the posts that you and Susan have been making about the little conversations the two of you have been having back and forth about completely disparate topics, but you're just enjoying being able to chat with each other.
Yeah. She goes, yeah, yesterday she posted, hey, guess what? And I go, what? I'm reading about, she's deep into the Corona study stuff. And
right.
And she told me what she was reading about. And I go, I'm reading about the monkeys. And then she said something else. Yeah. And also blah, 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 blah. And I go, I'm recommending people go check out the fried chicken at the House of Blues in Cleveland.
That's phenomenal.
So we keep
and you guys just take each other in stride. I love it.
Yeah, she's the one that's smart enough to let me know what's going on in the world, and I'm the one silly enough to keep her from letting it overwhelm her.
So, hey, that's a good team right there.
So it's something. We haven't driven each other that crazy yet, so.
Daniel-san, focus power.
Oh, yes.
How are you guys over there?
We're surviving. Just weird not leaving the house.
Yeah.
And trying to work and with two kids, trying to get them to do their stuff. And yeah.
Now, have you left the house at all?
Just to go to the store.
Okay.
So I've been to Wegmans and Home Depot a couple times here and there, but got to take out a couple times because, you need something different.
Right, exactly.
We've done that also. We've been to Wegmans a couple times, but Susan is so deep into it, she's not sure what she thinks about takeout, whether she trusts restaurants, even though I'm sure all of them are doing their best. Like, we actually got some wings from someplace, and we wound up putting them back in the oven for a while to, I don't know, bake the Corona out of them. I don't know why. But it made them less enjoyable for me. So I'm wondering, does takeout from restaurants scare you at all? Or
only takeout we've gotten has been McDonald's and Chinese.
There was a couple of days where we lived on takeout just because we didn't have anything in the house at the moment, or we had plenty of stuff in the house, but we just had no willpower.
Yeah.
Right. Because I still work, right? I'm an essential employee of the city, so I'm out and about all day long. And I got home, and Jules had been working on schoolwork all day. Her boyfriend's been staying with us on and off, and he's just like he was brain dead. So the three of us just looked at each other and said, "Screw it, we're ordering pizza." Or we're ordering Moe's Southwest or whatever the case would be. And everybody's, they've handled it very well. I have not had a bad experience so far about it. I mean, not that we've done it every night, but it's been good. It's been good. I'm not too stressed out about that.
Yeah.
These people are trying to survive. Their businesses are trying to survive. So suddenly they, let something slip, and God forbid somebody gets infected with the virus because of somebody screwed something up. Then I can't imagine they'd be willing to risk that. So
they're doing the best they can, especially the small local restaurants and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. If people can swing it, I highly recommend to reach out to one of your mom and pop shops and order some takeout from them at least once or twice every so often. Just kind of let them know that you're still thinking about them.
There is a rumor.
Yes.
That Selena's might be back doing takeout at the end of the month.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
So
they figured out how to do it.
They're working on figuring out how to do it.
Good for them.
Deanna was the one that sent me an email stating something about that she got an email because she must be on their email list or something. Mm-hmm. That they were trying to get the logistics in order for them to do make your own tacos at home. That they'd give you some of it would be already cooked up and prepared, and then you assemble and stuff at home or something along those lines. I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I've seen a couple places do things like that. Yeah, kind of assemble your own meal kind of thing.
Stuff,
So Sean's like, I was mentioning it to Sean. Sean's like, until they put either one of those fried bologna sandwiches in from Knox or the Vlad Dracul stuffed peppers, he goes, yeah, I like tacos, but if they can slide one of those in, he goes, I want one of those. I'm like, yeah, I know. But he orders Grubhub or DoorDash almost every night. So he's been getting stuff, and he said everyone that he's got has been really good with it. And I've gotten McDonald's a couple times for the kids, and I got Olive Garden one day where they just walked out to the car and put it in the window of my passenger seat. We had already paid everything online. And then Sunday, my mother-in-law wanted to order Outback. So instead of me going down to get it, they delivered. And he came with a mask on, and then I just pulled my hoodie up over my nose so I could take everything from him. And it wasn't bad. And,
it's definitely different times now.
Yeah.
Different things.
It's kind of crazy. I'm looking forward to coming out the other side of it. Of course, I was saying, because I had a chance to chat with Sybil just recently, just today, as a matter of fact. And you were saying, hey, when everything is said and done and the all clear is signaled, then we're going to have a proper, everybody get back together again so we can all see each other and interact and catch up properly. And then we made the corollary comment that, we'll have to wait because there's going to be an all clear sounded, and then everybody's going to rush to get back together again, and there's going to be a second wave of this nonsense, and then we'll have to go back into isolation again. So it'll be after the second time that we'll throw a party just to make sure that at that point everything is good and in order.
Right. You kind of need a slow ease back into it. You can't just jump into it.
Yeah, seriously. And then there's all those people that are protesting to force the reopening of things. I don't have a comment on that right now, but you can tell just by the tone of my voice, I probably already do. It's like, wait, what?
Well,
right.
It's like this afternoon, I ran out to get McDonald's for the boys, but I stopped at Walmart because we needed some stuff in the house. And I'm like, I really didn't want to fight Wegmans or whatever. So I'm like, I'll just run to Walmart, grab the stuff. And of course I had my mask on, and most people in there did have masks on, and they did do the 6 feet. But then I saw a couple employees that didn't have masks on that were sitting like as you were leaving. They're like ones that usually check the receipt. I mean, they had it on, but it was like tucked underneath their chin.
Oh, perfect.
So they didn't necessarily have it wearing it all the time.
Yeah, because that's effective.
Yeah, but I'm just
right.
like,
it works just as well that way. Don't you know?
But then there were customers in there that a husband and a wife, or a boyfriend or girlfriend, I don't know what they were. The guy had the mask on, the girl didn't. And I'm just like, I'm like, I know that some places, like my mother-in-law said on Friday when she went to Target, 'cause she had to get her prescriptions from the CVS in there, that they were saying that the security was starting there to remind people that the next day that they, in order to be let in, they needed to have masks on. So I know Target weren't going to let anybody actually in unless you had a mask on.
When I picked up my pizza at Salvatore's, they say, no mask, no service type of thing. A big sign on the door. I need a mask to go walk in the door. So
yeah,
it's like, okay, let's do what we have to right now to get past this. So
right, and then survive this, and then figure out the rest.
Right. So, wearing a mask isn't going to kill me for a little while. No, hopefully.
Seriously, do the right thing once in a while. It won't kill you.
Yeah. So I had mailed.
Less chance it's going to kill you.
I had mailed 2 of the N95 masks to my parents in Florida because they didn't have access to get any down there, and they're flying home on May 14th. So they're saving their 2 N95 masks for when they fly home. They were supposed to come home on the 15th, but their direct flight was canceled, and they now would have had to fly from Orlando to Baltimore, change planes in Baltimore, and then fly into Rochester. They have opted not to do that, and they now have a direct flight to Buffalo on May 14th. So I have to go get them on May 14th. But I don't mind going to get them. I'll just have to make sure I have my mask too. So when I first meet up with them before they can decontaminate and hand wash and sanitize their hands and things like that and everything. But otherwise, they don't have any way to get from Buffalo back to Avon. So,
Madonna mia, it's just amazing what we have to go through. Billy, I'm almost half inclined to have Susan jump on and give us like a
she's actually downstairs. I'm upstairs. There was something she wanted to watch on the television, so I took the laptop upstairs, and so she's downstairs.
That's safer that way.
That's why I was a few minutes late.
Okay.
No worries. All right, here's the thing. So we're gonna take a quick break in a moment, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about this week's topic. And this week's topic is we're all a little pent up at the moment. We're all a little frustrated because of things. So we're gonna take it out on really bad movies. In particular, we're gonna talk about some of the worst sequels ever to be made. Now, on this list, obviously, won't be Empire Strikes Back because that's one of the best sequels ever made. Aliens, also an amazing sequel. Lots of great sequels out there, lots of continuations of great stories. But then there's also Weekend at Bernie's 2.
That was one of mine.
That exists.
See you guys. Talk to you
later.
No, that's all right. I've got plenty more. And also, I just want to throw when I was thinking about these sequels, to me, it's not just the worst because it's easy to go, Friday the 13th part 42. But to me, there's also ones that were disappointing, ones that you'd hoped would be more, that would be a good movie. You went in hoping for a good movie, and they just weren't. So I've got a couple of those on my list. No, they're not the worst movies ever, but they're not good, and they should have been. So that's my thought.
So after the break, we'll definitely be talking a little bit more about that.
Okay, sounds good. So we're quick break, and when we return, we're off to the races, bashing some bad movies. Sometimes you have such a great movie that you want to savor the story even further. You want to see what happens next. Either it's the story, the universe that it's set in, the characters in particular. Maybe it's just there was a nuance, or maybe there was just a cliffhanger that you didn't expect, or something, a question that was left unanswered. You want to see what comes next. Some of the great sequels out there, as I mentioned earlier, Aliens, Star Trek II, the whole Harry Potter series is a sequel, basically, if you think about it. And they were all great movies. They're all an evolution of characters. But then there's also something where you just basically, they took it out, they dusted it off, they slapped the number 2 at the end of it, and you leave the theater wondering, why the hell did they do that? Those are the movies we're going to be talking about today.
And it's funny because I've been bebopping on Google while we started this, and it's funny because in the corner under like my notifications, now things are coming up Venom 2 and something else. Like all these movie notifications are starting to show up in the corner of my screen.
Because Google pays attention to everything you say.
Right. But it's funny because so now since we're talking about the worst sequels ever made, we'll need to go and do when the sequel's better than the original.
Oh yeah, down the road, absolutely. I want to talk about stuff like that because there were a couple of great movies that were just
Empire Strikes Back.
There were a couple of movies that were just better than the original, absolutely. So that's definitely a podcast waiting to happen out there. So who wants to start off? Who wants to pick a movie and let's hash at it?
Well, I'll just jump in and let you guys start, and then because I'll let you know if I've seen it or not.
Okay.
Because then I can put my 2 cents in. Because
I'll start with one of the worst one of the few movies I ever walked out on, Anchorman 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really? Now I'll be upfront. I've never seen either of those movies because it's Will Ferrell and he just doesn't do it for me, right? I don't find him that funny.
To be honest, me either. But my buddy Paulie wanted to go, and I saw the first one on cable originally, and it made me laugh. You know, it wasn't a classic, but one day we had off from work, and Paulie said, "Hey, do you want to go to the movies?" Sure. What do you want to see? And he loves Anchorman, so Anchorman 2. All right, and it was so bad that even as a fan, he looked at me. Do you want to stay or do you want to leave? Yeah, let's leave.
Wow.
It was just awful.
See, even Paulie wanted out.
Well, see, the thing is, Anchorman and Anchorman 2 wouldn't even make my radar to even go to the movies for that.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And I've gone to some bad movies or things that I wouldn't necessarily be in my genre, like Rambo, like Last Blood or whatever the one it was, because it's the one that just came out a couple months ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
Last Blood, I think.
Last Blood. It's not in my wheelhouse, but I went because I knew my friend Sean would like to see it, and he's gone to movies that I like to see that's not necessarily in his wheelhouse. So... But I truly went for the popcorn and hid my face in his shoulder for a good portion of the movie. But Anchorman would be one that I wouldn't. Not even the amount of popcorn could tempt me to go.
So noted.
So noted. So that's my 2 cents on that.
All right. So Anchorman 2. So Billy, throw another one out
sort
there.
Of stupid comedy, just because you mentioned it before the break, and I did see it, and I saw it at the theater. Weekend at Bernie's 2, which
I know.
Why? He was already dead.
Made me laugh where the 2 live guys had to pretend their boss was still alive, and they, the bit. And the second one, I don't even remember. How long?
Oh, I have it. I have the write-up in front of me for it. After witnessing the murder of their corrupt boss, Bernie Lomax, played by Terry Kaiser, apparently an Oscar award-winning performance. Larry Wilson and Richard Parker, played by Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman respectively, are blamed for Bernie's embezzlement and are fired. Okay. Desperate to find the stolen $2 million and clear their names, the pair learns the fortune was hidden in the Virgin Islands and travels there in pursuit. Meanwhile,
oh boy,
brace yourselves.
I'm reading it.
Bernie's corpse is partially revived in a voodoo ceremony by gangsters, also looking for the money.
He starts walking and dancing. That I remember.
This wasn't a hit. Come on. How is this not a hit movie? Come on.
My sister and I went to go see it on her birthday, whatever year it came out, and she wanted to see it. So we went to Fridays for dinner and ate way, way too much. And I was so sick watching that movie, and not because of the movie, but because I'd eaten a huge meal followed by the world's biggest ice cream sundae that literally had a piece of chocolate chip pie stuck in the middle of the ice cream sundae.
Oh dear! Wow!
Can you believe I have diabetes?
Okay, it
boggles my imagination on a regular basis. Every time you bring it up,
the movie was terrible, and
it scored.
But at the time, I think my tolerance was a little less likely to care because I still remember sort of laughing or whatever.
Yeah. Probably just the stupidity of it.
10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my god!
But 86% of Google users liked the movie.
Oh well, there you have it. Because Google never lies. Oh, Madonna Mia, that's amazing. Dan, how about you, man? Do you have one?
We could go with Caddyshack 2.
That works. Caddyshack definitely would qualify for me.
Bill Murray wasn't in that one, was he?
I don't think any of them were in it, were they?
Until you had mentioned it, I'd forgotten that the movie was even made.
Yeah, it's that bad.
Cast Chevy Chase, Jackie Mason, Dan Aykroyd, Randy Quaid, Robert Stack.
I think Randy Quaid stepped in for the Bill Murray role.
He was.
No, I think Dan Aykroyd was probably the Bill Murray role, or Jackie Mason was the Rodney Dangerfield stand-in.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah.
Why?
See, whenever you ask why, the answer is because the first one made a lot of money. Yeah,
that's basically it, isn't it?
It's the exact same formula, and there's no purpose.
Okay, this one was 4% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa.
Yikes.
And as long as we're going Saturday Night Live cast, Blues Brothers 2000. Now remember, the first one came out in 1978. And then all of a sudden in 1999, not even 2000, Blues Brothers 2000 came out. They were even off by the year. The music is phenomenal. I just rewatched it within the last couple months because I had the music in my head, and the musical performances are fantastic, but the movie is awful.
Well, that's the thing is Dan Aykroyd wouldn't allow the music to be bad, I don't think, but I think they just I don't know what the impetus to create that movie would have been.
Again, money, but Belushi'd been long dead. And a bunch of years ago, John Landis, the director, was on Brother Weeze's show in studio with us. And I actually asked him about that. And he said at one point there was a way different script, but the studio kept butting in. They inserted the little kid into the movie. And at one point they made a bunch of script changes to make it a PG movie instead of an R-rated movie. At which point, Dan Aykroyd, who had written the original script, and Landis put in a bunch more music to sort of offset the terribleness of the movie.
Its budget was $31 million. It made $14 million at the box office.
I guess that brings up a valid question. That would be something worth discussing, maybe even later today or in a future podcast. How many movie premises were really, really good but got screwed up by somebody in a suit who didn't know what they were talking about? because it sounded, the way you're describing it, it really sounded like maybe the second Blues Brothers movie could have been something pretty special. Maybe not Lightning in a Bottle Part 2, but something really nice and worth noting. But then the studio gets involved, and now
they have some sort of formula in their head they're trying to make it work in. So they
Well, Kevin Smith has also told some anecdotes over the years of how the studio has tried to meddle in some of the movies he's made, and other. I've heard other directors talking about that. So it brings up a valid point. I mean, some of these movies we're probably going to take a crack at. We're outside the the sway of the director, the writer, the cast, that kind of a thing. So that's a good point to make, at least. So, and then, of course, there's some movies that were just shit to begin with.
like Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol.
Well, there's that. How about Look Who's Talking? Great, fun first movie. How many others? They made 2 more.
At least
is it 2 more? Or Look Who's Talking 2 and Look Who's Talking Now, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at a list of the 50 worst sequels ever, and Look Who's Talking Now is in '93, and Look Who's Talking 2 is in
Today one.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am. Why, are you also?
Yes.
Okay, so you see Caddyshack 2, and then you see Escape Plan 2, right? Okay, so. Ay, madre mía.
Now, there's one that I kind of have to disagree with, that it was a worst movie sequel, maybe in regards to the plot, but they have Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, as one of the worst movie sequels. I found that still to be fun and enjoyable. Probably not
it was a fun
first one, but I don't think it's a horrible sequel.
The story was weaker, and I think, like with Blues Brothers 2000, the story was weak, but the music and the kids made up for it, because the big singing competition at the end was. I feel like the entire movie was written just to have that scene, pretty much. That's what it feels like.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the first, you'd probably like the second, but it wasn't. It didn't stand out by itself, kind of thing. But
I believe it was the first movie that Lauryn Hill was ever in, and she got to sing, because that's what Lauryn Hill does, and she does it really, really well. She's an amazingly talented singer. So she got to kind of shine there in that big finale at the end. And that's kind of like, I think there's a lot of movies that exist just to be a vehicle for one scene in particular. And on my list of things to talk about, I'm going to segue into Revenge of the Sith.
Well, we do that, Rotten Tomatoes gave Sister Act 2 a 7%.
Oh God! Oh, that's painful. Wow. I mean, I would give it a couple stars just for the competition, because the performances were so wonderful.
I don't know.
But like I said, the rest of the movie was
Whereas Sister Act,
did any of you guys, speaking of musical comedies? So. I liked the first couple Pitch Perfect movies. Susan and I tried watching Pitch Perfect 3 and couldn't make it 5 minutes in.
I watched them all. I mean, by the time it gets old.
Yeah.
It's like it's getting really old in regards to like the Bellas and things like that. It's like they have to.
Is it the same formula every movie?
Pretty much.
Something happens and whatever, and it's a matter of, well, the Bellas come back out on top because of this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it's like reading any of those formulaic romance novels, Something.
Of course, it never stops you from trying.
No, I'm still going to read them, but and enjoy them. But yeah, so I'll still watch it to enjoy it, but it's not something that it's going to be. I'll talk a lot about.
I think I've watched Pitch Perfect only insofar as I've caught collections on YouTube of the various performances over the 3 movies. That's how I've watched Pitch Perfect. I've watched
that's
everybody singing, and I love that stuff. I really do.
Movies.
Yeah, but again, like I was just mentioning, I feel like these movies are a vehicle for something. There's no cohesive story. There's no character development. There's none of this stuff that's going to draw you into a complete package movie, like Princess Bride or, even Gone with the Wind, one of the classics. There's a whole thing that brings you in and you're going to get something out of the whole experience. There are movies that exist simply to create one scene and bring that scene to you. As I was saying, with Revenge of the Sith, I think the entire movie, the only reason the movie existed was to set up the Obi-Wan Anakin fight at the end. That's it. I mean, if you take that particular fight out, the rest of the movie just kind of starts falling apart because there's no reason for it.
Hi, Tyler.
Tyler just came in and says hi to everybody.
Hello, Tyler.
He was like whispering. He was like, podcast. I'm like, so he was very respectful in regards to.
You blew it by talking about it so much. Come on, the kid's trying to be stealth, and you're sitting there going, "Yeah, well, he can't even start talking about it."
No, he was on his way out at that point. He's just like,
I see.
Tell everybody I said hi.
And Chris, you mean you missed Gone with the Wind too? He does give a damn.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, Billy,
I'm
just
here
a pretty
to make
face.
Jokes when I don't know what else to say.
That's phenomenal. Oh my God, that was awesome.
We need that these days, though.
Oh, seriously, yeah.
Now, I mentioned before the break that
Bring
there are
the
movies
funny.
that maybe they aren't the worst movies, worst sequels ever, but they're disappointing and that I'd hoped for more. And the one I always think of is Spider-Man 3, where the first two with Tobey Maguire were really good movies, and the second one I think is an excellent movie, the Dr. Octopus one.
Two was a phenomenal. Spider-Man 2 was just a phenomenal movie.
Thomas Hayden Church looks really good as the Sandman, but then there's emo Peter Parker dancing, and the rest of the movie
it was horrifying.
Maybe wasn't terrible, but it didn't satisfy me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading one of the critic reviews. It says, if ever a movie had... Oops, I lost it.
Oh no, she lost her place.
I'll at least do the first sentence. If ever a movie had a case of the blues and the blahs, it's Spider-Man 3. A sequel that is fizzled rather than fizzy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
exactly.
It's still got...
Critics-wise?
63%
no
on Rotten
kidding.
Tomatoes. Yes.
Interesting.
No, wow.
Rotten Tomatoes 63%. Metacritic was 59. IMDb is 6.2 compared to Spider-Man 2. Rotten Tomatoes is 93%. And Spider-Man.
No, emo Peter Parker blew it for me on that one.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Fictional character. No kidding. Spider-Man movie. I tell you, Spider-Man 1. That one got 90. So Spider-Man 2.
I didn't like the reboots, the Andrew Garfield ones. I don't know if they're sequels. If the second one is obviously a sequel of the second one,
Reboot.
Amazing Spider-Man 2, the one that was partly filmed here in Rochester, is a sequel of the first one.
Bye.
What about the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies did you not like? What was it that turned you off?
He's too good looking.
Really?
There's
that.
I'm not gonna, take him for the bullied nerd. When he looks like he could beat Flash Thompson's ass. And the fact, one of my pet peeves in superhero movies, and we talked about it, stop telling people your secret identity. By the end of that one, everyone short of Electro knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And I hate that. It's just a personal pet peeve, and it's a silly one, but...
So Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark should have acknowledged he was Iron Man?
If I'm not mistaken, in the comics, it was... known he was Iron Man, right?
Well, in the comics, he held on to the whole it's a bodyguard in a suit or it's an automated system for a while, but yeah, eventually he just came right out and people all knew it was him.
Whereas,
and
like
he didn't
in the
care.
first
he owned it
Batman movie, which is excellent, Alfred tells Vicky Vale, Kim Basinger, that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Whereas Alfred should have been fired immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seriously, that's not an Alfred thing to do.
It just annoys me. In fact, there's a comedian that does a whole bit about that. I think maybe Albert Brooks, about Alfred telling Vicky Vale that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So I didn't like the Spider-Man 3. Was my whole point of that.
Okay. Yeah, I know, and I think it would have been I don't think it would have been a stunning movie. It would have been an okay movie if they just didn't do the whole
it would have been
emo Peter Parker. They could have done it differently.
I didn't like Captain Marvel, but I'm not gonna say it's one of the worst movies I ever saw. It was just there, and it was fun for a couple hours maybe. Mm-hmm. And that's what Spider-Man 3 would have been without emo Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm. Right. Tanya, do you have another candidate for our discussion?
Let's see. Well, I thought the first one was bad, so the second one would probably be just as bad. Universal Soldier: The Return.
Oh God, yeah, I'm right there with you. That was one of those just kind of like just slap them together, make an action movie, give it a premise. Jean-Claude Van Damme gets to beat up Dolph Lundgren. Okay, that's plausible.
So, I mean, Universal Soldier is one of those ones that kind of like Rambo Last Blood that I watched it through my fingers. Mm-hmm. On late April night when Randy and I were dating, when my parents were out and we happened to be checking on the house in my parents' house, and then he went home and left me in Avon by myself.
Oh, geez.
After watching this, and it's in the country, and now I'm completely now granted I was like 21, 22, something like that, but it's still living in the country after watching this like action sci-fi Universal Soldier movie that I couldn't sleep for a while. So, yeah. So that's I think why I kind of turn off on those. So yeah, I haven't seen Universal Soldier: The Return, but I'm guessing that was probably about as bad as the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's the thing is you get these movies that when you get to the end of them, they're fairly wrapped up. So coming out with a sequel saying, "Oh, here, let's dip back in there." How? The story was done. Why are we going back to? How is this a possibility? You know, like with the premise behind Weekend at Bernie's 2, for instance. Come on. I mean, I understand that the movies are supposed to be for a certain level of suspension of disbelief. Mm-hmm. We don't go to movies for realism unless we're watching a documentary. But come on. I mean, don't stretch our imaginations out so far that it breaks like a rubber band.
Well, I wouldn't even have known what the premise of the first one is, so now I'm reading the second one. It says, after being brought back from the dead as a genetically enhanced warrior, mm-hmm. Luke Devereaux is now fully human and working with a scientist, Dylan Cotner, to create a newer, safer breed of fighters. When the project loses its funding, his supercomputer, the sentient Seth, is scheduled to be turned off. Alarmed, Seth takes over a human body to defend itself. To prevent the machine from destroying mankind, Luke must fight back. And that was in 1999. Probably.
Yeah, because it was on the table.
Goodbye.
Hi, Tanya's kid.
I'm on a podcast. Goodbye. I love you too. Goodbye. Okay, finish it.
Was that the younger one?
That's the younger one.
Yeah.
But then there was even another Universal Soldier movie, Day of Reckoning. They've got Universal Soldier 3, Unfinished Business. That was a 1998 television sci-fi fiction film. They had Universal Soldier Regeneration.
So somebody likes the movies.
And they just keep making them. And what the hell?
That was in 2009. And then there was, Universal Soldier 4, which is Day of Reckoning. Now, granted, that one got 56 on the Rotten Tomatoes. The Regeneration, I can't tell what it got. But Universal Soldier The Return got 5%. But yeah, there's definitely a group that likes this type of movie. I don't see it myself. So what is it?
I'm sure there's people just want to see guns and shooting and action and
guns and explosions.
Yeah, which I'm all for some guns
if
and
you
explosions.
got decent script and decent cast. I mean, just yesterday or 2 days ago, watched a movie. It wasn't great, but it was fun enough. Did you guys see 21 Bridges with Chadwick Boseman?
No.
No, I haven't heard about it.
We were just looking for something brainless, but the acting was good enough to carry it. Okay, good. And there's those, but then, like you said, there's Universal Soldier 5 Electric Boogaloo, where it's pretty unnecessary.
And that's the standard. And you hear it all the time now when somebody says something
I'm sorry for the hack
it's
joke.
Almost naturally they're going to say electric boogaloo. It's like that. It was terrible, but it was fun.
I should have just stuck with
we're not
Gone with the Wind too, and Mike dropped and left the room. Should have just left the room.
He gave a damn. Too funny. Who's up? Dan, you got another one?
Mannequin 2 on the move.
God.
What was it again?
Mannequin 2.
Oh, Mannequin 2. Oh, wow.
Mannequin 2.
You dug deep into the archives.
I'm not Kim Basinger. Kim Cattrall.
No. That was Kim Cattrall. No, it was Christy Swanson was the mannequin in that one.
Oh, wow. The original.
Although Jason works as a department store clerk, he's also a reincarnated prince.
Long ago, his beloved Jessie was snatched away from him by an evil wizard who used his powers to transform her into a wooden statue. So I'm assuming Terry Kaiser plays a lot of bad guys.
He looked like
he was kind of known for that. It was his thing. It was his idiom.
Yeah, he looking at his picture. He so looks like he would be in The Godfather.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was kind of a thing.
He was Bernie in Weekend at Bernie's.
Right.
Okay, so he was he was in Friday the 13th Part 7.
Well, they had to answer the questions left over from 6.
Wow, he's good stuff there.
Yeah.
Of course.
Tammy and the T-Rex. Let's see, what else was he in? Let's see. Surf 2.
A lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
His roles are delicious.
Is he still alive, Terry Kaiser?
He's 80, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a couple of movies in pre-production, and I believe,
All right, so the man's still turning them out. It'd be interesting to see if they ever try Weekend at Bernie's 3. I'm just saying. The Resurrection.
I'd say he wouldn't survive it, but I guess it wouldn't matter then, would it?
Now, did any of you ever see Staying Alive?
Okay.
It was the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. Yeah.
No. Sequel to Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, okay. I
never saw Saturday Night Fever, so I didn't go out of my way to see the sequel.
Best Picture, or at least nominated. But Staying Alive, he winds up a dancer in a Broadway show, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, hold on.
And the acting's bad, the script is bad.
Interesting.
And it's a completely forgettable movie. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And for some reason, I always confuse it with.
That's why I don't remember it, I guess.
The movie John Travolta did with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Makes it easier that way.
Out in a gym. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the one, the aerobics one.
Oh my God. I have seen that in the whole mashup of Footloose and
and Safety Dance.
That he's been in the aerobics class. It's funny.
I remember the premise of that one being just so weak.
Saturday Night Fever had a lot of nominations. Like he was John Travolta was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor, but he didn't get it. The wins were the National Board of Review gave him Best Actor for the role, and then the Golden Screen Award.
Oh, Staying Alive was directed by Sylvester Stallone.
To the movie.
Yeah. Which the first Rocky
was it
also
really?
was, if I'm not mistaken.
I did not know that.
I think he wrote it and starred. I'm doubting
the movie?
My recollection of him directing.
Okay.
Because he wrote it, but.
Huh.
Well, the actress that was in there, the Fiona, I can't remember, Finola Hughes, she was on the soap opera Days of Our Lives for years.
She was also in General Hospital, if I remember correctly.
Oh, was it General Hospital?
Yeah, General Hospital. I'm sad that I know that, but
you looked it up. I saw you Google.
That's information that exists out there now that Chris knew that.
Oh, General Hospital, All My Children.
Yeah, there you go.
I think she's been on a lot of them.
She's quite the actress. She's actually kind of. I've seen her in a lot of things, and here I am not helping my case at all in this one. But she also played the mom of the Hallowell sisters in Charmed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was just about to say. Yeah, it was All My Children in General Hospital. I thought it was Days of Our Lives, but.
Yeah, I remember. I've seen her in a lot of things. She's a good character actress. She really has been around for a while, and a very sweet and funny lady. I've seen her in several interviews because there was a time when I was a stay-at-home dad and I watched a lot of daytime TV. It happened. I admit it. Not afraid. There you have it.
She reminds me a little bit of Marina Sirtis a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. That would work. That's a thing. All right. So, where are we? Are we
back to another bad sequel?
Back to another bad sequel. All right, I'm going to throw one in, and I'm going to modify the catchphrase of the series of movies, and I'm going to say there should have been only one. Highlander. The first Highlander movie, I loved it. It was so freaking cool.
Classic. It's just amazing.
That was one that I thought about earlier this week. That yeah.
I remember, and Billy, you have very, very few, if only the one movie that you've ever walked out on. This is one of only two that I have ever walked out on, where we get to Highlander 2, and we were so excited when they made Highlander 2. They were talking about it, and we were like, oh my God, Highlander 2, this is going to be... I mean, first of all, we couldn't figure out what the premise was going to be because he won. He was the final immortal. Was this, so how is this going to happen? How's this going to work? So we had to go see it. And... I remember the whole opening. I remember back when we were on the planet Zeist, we all got up and walked out. Right there, 5 minutes into the movie, we got up and walked out. We watched the trailers, which there were not 20 minutes of trailers back then. But we watched, and as soon as it happened, we got up and we walked out. We're like, no, this is all wrong. This is going to be over now, right now. But yeah, and then they went on and made Highlander 3, which was all right, and then Highlander 4, which was what the hell, and there's even a Highlander 5 which went direct to video, and was basically like, how Generations was for Next Generation cast of Star Trek, as it's the same thing. So it was the Highlander TV series got their Generations movie in Highlander 5 Endgame, and I was like, wow, okay, no.
And then they had Highlander the series.
Yes, and you know what? To be fair, Highlander the series, which had a different McLeod, All right, and every so often Christopher Lambert would show up, and he and his and the star Adrian Paul of the series, they were cousins. That's how they passed that off, right? The series itself was actually pretty decent. The first season was pretty but it did get into an interesting storyline and did have some interesting characters come and go, and some interesting development and whatnot. So it was not bad, the series. I kind of been like, all right, so it's kind of like a thing based on the thing more than anything else.
There were 6 Highlander movies.
6 of them?
6.
Wow.
Highlander 2, The Quickening. Highlander 3, The Sorcerer. Highlander Endgame. That was the 4th one. Okay. Highlander, The Search for Vengeance is the 5th one. And Highlander, The Source was the 6th one.
Okay, so I was wrong then. So because the TV series cast I thought they were in Endgame. So he had Duncan MacLeod and his TV team had the back 3. So the top 3 were Christopher Lambert, and then the other 3 were Adrian Paul. Okay, I've learned something new. Still don't like it, but there you have it. I feel like the doctor just said, "Oh, you redecorated. Don't like it."
Yeah. Well, Christopher Lambert was still in Endgame, though.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
How does that work?
They gave him a good paycheck?
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Duncan MacLeod, and Christopher was Connor MacLeod.
Right.
Interesting.
Let's see. Allegedly, this is the pulse-pounding final chapter as one last battle is waged among Earth's immortals, and the fate of mankind rests in the balance. The time is the year 2000, and by now Kel has become the most invincible immortal ever, amassing the supernatural strength of the 600 immortals that he has killed over the centuries. Kel is ready to win the game at any cost, and the only thing that stands in his way is the continued existence of Duncan and Connor MacLeod.
I did see that climax scene where basically Connor, here's spoilers. Connor sacrifices himself so that Duncan can have his power, and then Duncan goes on to defeat the bad guy because he's got the power of his cousin within him as well. And it was like, okay, stop, please, dear God, stop. Oh man.
Yeah.
So yes, there's 6 of them. So
wow. Okay.
But it looked like the next one looks like more like anime.
Not a live action film.
Oh yeah, it's animation action. It's not it's a different, right, it's not live action. So Highlander Endgame is the last of the live action type thing, but the Search for Vengeance and the Source are both even the Source is live action. So just the Search for Vengeance is animation.
And I'm telling you, these titles. The Search for Vengeance.
And tell you, the Adrian Paul's in this one, so
I wouldn't mind meeting him. He seems pretty cool.
What else has he been in?
Adrian Paul? Not a lot. I know he's done a few things, but I wouldn't call him prolific by any stretch of the imagination.
I think one of the reasons we're sort of having trouble coming up with bad sequels is that we tend not to go to bad movies.
Yeah, we're very selective. I've developed kind of a good sixth sense about that sort of thing. I can watch a trailer and go, no.
Right. And I think that's part of the thing.
It sounds so snobby of me to say something like that, but still, I mean, as a consumer, you want to be careful of that sort of thing.
Plus, there's a lot of like horror movies and stuff like that, which I don't get into those.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, you bring in horror movies, you get tons and tons of them.
Right.
To see a bad movie as per Weekend at Bernie's too, but nowadays as I look through various lists, well, I didn't see any of these movies. I didn't go see The Mask or I maybe Wayne's World. I really like the first one. Wayne's World 2, not so much, but I wouldn't call it one of the worst movies of all time. Yeah. No,
Okay, that's fair.
They kept that up. It was pretty good.
All right, I tell you what. Let's wrap this up with a sequel we all like. Is there a sequel out there that? What's that?
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, well, we talked about that one. That's a gimme. We've already mentioned that one.
Well, I mean, I
tell me.
Let's
find a sequel that we really liked.
Back to the Future 2 gets crapped on, but I think the whole third act is pretty clever.
It was they putting all three of those together. I thought it was great. I loved those movies all together. I mean, they did a great job of time. I mean, it was kind of they kind of pushed it for two a little bit, but I had no problem with it. And with three coming along, and it just tied it all in a nice little package.
I agree. I'm with you on that one. That's cool. We'll take that one.
I mean, Terminator 2 Judgment
let's see.
Day
Let's see.
What other ones? Jeez.
Aliens.
That was a great movie.
Terminator 2 was good.
Aliens. I'm going to say Hunger Games. I liked the second Hunger Games movie. I thought it was really interesting how they brought in different characters, different personalities, a whole different kind of a setup to it, and it set up the third movie, obviously.
And those are different because they come from books.
Yeah.
So I kind of was leaving out like movies from books because they already have a story there.
Which is fair.
For the most part. I mean, some of them, the movies didn't go well from books, but but something like the Hunger Games or Lord of the Rings, where they, the stuff that they already have the material.
Chronicles of Narnia, I'm sad that they didn't go very far with that.
Yeah.
Those were, I think, very underrated movies.
The Wrath of Khan.
Definitely. I think it just came out at the wrong time. And
Star Trek 2. Absolutely Star Trek 2. Great movie. Great freaking movie. I'll even, maybe not Star Trek Into Darkness, but Star Trek Beyond of the JJ verse reboots. I thought that was a great movie.
Yeah.
So there are sequels out there that are definitely worth taking into.
Definitely.
So
it depends on how if they continue the story versus they're just trying to make a buck, and you can really tell.
That's definitely something you can tell.
If you bring in Kindergarten Cop 2. It doesn't work. But if there was, but you got your Star Trek 2, but you make a good story. You're not just rehashing the first one with the different people or something.
Exactly. Let's see. Would we consider the MCU sequels of itself?
They were looking at
First Avenger,
Captain
for sure.
America: Civil War was was better than Captain America: The First Avenger.
But they also, for a lot of the Marvel ones, especially, they learned a lot in the earlier ones, and they build on it.
Right. Yes.
And like Thor, the second,
Thor Ragnarok was better than Thor.
Yeah, I mean they have different.
Thor: The Dark World was definitely a weak movie. Thor itself, the first one, I think is an underrated movie. I really enjoyed that one a lot. I think I've talked about that in the past.
I mean, I was just wondering if
Winter
The Dark
Soldier
Knight was better than Batman Begins.
Civil War was just amazing.
And won an Oscar with Heath Ledger. Thank you. All I could think was Joaquin Phoenix. And I go, no, he didn't win. Yeah.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
I think the Dark Knight movie was amazing. The Dark Knight movie was insane. And it was all Heath. It really was. I mean, Christian Bale was definitely
good.
He was supporting.
The
Batman was the supporting character in that movie.
Well, it is because the villains are the colorful ones, and Batman's just sort of he's the Dark Knight, and he's dark. But the villains are the colorful parts of the Batman story. I mean, I can definitely see that.
That's amazing. That's a good one. Good call. All right. Well, I think we can wrap-a-roo that section. There's a lot out there, and we can probably talk about this at length. So, my dear listener, if there is a sequel that you can think of that we have not talked about, obviously drop that on the post thread there on our Facebook, and we'll be happy to, or on our Twitter, and we'll be happy to discuss that with you. So, for that, let's go ahead and take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about whatever happens to be on the top of our heads, and then we'll jump into our question of the week. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is so wonderful to be here with you, even though we're in isolation and we're remote and we're not with you at the moment in person, but we can be with you in spirit. So that's kind of fun. I'm getting in Facebook memories, I've been getting the countdowns to FC3, the first one in 2016.
I got one of those too.
Yeah, it is so cool. We're coming up on our fourth birthday, so that's kind of wild. I'm trying to enjoy that, and then we're gonna fly our fifth show in September. I'm looking forward to it.
Hopefully, if all goes well, we get in September 19th and 20th.
Yep.
And we forgot that we had a guest announcement.
We had a guest announcement. Yeah, I did blow that, didn't I? I was supposed to do that during Nerd World News last night. I missed that one.
I thought about that this morning.
So let's recap that. Let's recap this real quick, because we have Jason Font is still going to be joining us, the Red Power Ranger from Power Rangers Time Force, who we have done a podcast with. He very, very graciously joined us for an interview, and I thought that was fantastic. I'd like to take a moment to reiterate the fact that I may not have been a huge Power Rangers fan, but every Power Rangers actor I've ever met has just been so capital.
They have
absolutely
been awesome.
Love them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have Jason Fount. We have voice actor Mike McFarland.
Correct.
And who else? Do we have anybody else right now that we have announced that I'm missing?
No.
Okay, so we're going to be getting a new literary guest somewhere along the line.
Right.
And
working on that.
And unfortunately, Mick Foley was not able to join us because of a scheduling conflict due to the change. All right, so that's all said and done. But now, alongside with Mike McFarland, we have another voice actor. Am I correct, Tanya?
Yes.
Bring it on.
Bring it. Oh, crap. I don't have anything up, but...
Tiffany Vollmer.
Tiffany Vollmer. And now, she and Mike have worked together. Am I correct in that one? They've been in series together, so they're a pretty good team.
Yeah.
They're both in Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
I assume that she's at the same time as him.
Yep.
I don't know how. I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Very good.
Yes. Hold on. Let me pull this up right now. Let's see.
It's on our website right now, too.
Yay! It's live on FC3ROC.com.
I should probably post it on our page, too.
It's a possibility. I would do it tomorrow at this point.
Yeah.
I would do it tomorrow.
Why don't I do it tomorrow?
You know what? Do it Thursday.
Okay.
Because I want to encourage people to listen to the podcast. so when you post the podcast, go, by the way, podcast, this is what we're talking about. Oh, and we have a guest announcement in the third segment. So
Tiffany was the voice of Bulma in Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Along with other parts on the series. She was on the voice of Bulma on Dragon Ball Z, through Dragon Ball GT, including several movies and video games for nearly a decade.
Oh wow!
Other credits include voicing the song on the opening and closing credits of Yu Yu Hakusho. And the role of Betsy on Case Closed. So she's been at Funimation. She's been in front and behind the scenes. So she's worked on production and produced her first film, Placebo, with her business partner, Tracy Terrell. So
very cool. I'm looking forward to meeting her in September.
Yes.
That's cool.
So, and that's all going to be on our site. So her and Mike McFarland will be coming together in September to join us at the Total Sports Experience
in Gates.
Excuse me.
Very cool. So instead of having events that we usually talk about at this point, we had a guest announcement. That's so cool. I enjoy having guest announcements.
On the podcast.
Now, when can I start talking about Harrison Ford? No?
You can talk about him, but he's not coming to the convention. You can talk about him all you want.
He would not come to our convention anyway.
Dan is going to have a heart attack one of these days. When, someone's like, "You promised us such and such," and da 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 da, and yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd have a heart attack if Harrison Ford actually showed up to the convention.
No, my parents, my dad's last name is Harris, and he could drive a Ford.
Just
there you go.
There we go.
His son's Ford.
Well, he doesn't have a son, so
he has a Tanya.
Yeah, he has a daughter.
Grandson.
Yeah, Harris's grandson driving a Ford. Yeah.
If you say it fast enough, then maybe it sounds.
Turn your head at just the right moment.
Yeah.
This is us when we're reaching.
We're reaching, right?
So Dan.
So Chris,
do you have Dan's legendary list of questions?
Why, yes, I do have Dan's legendary list of questions.
That's amazing, Dan. Dan, I would like you to pick a number between 0 and 200.
Now, I want one of you guys to pick a number between 1 and 315.
All right, 222.
I think I actually did that one.
Did you do that? I think you did.
No, you did do that one. Nope.
Yep, never mind then.
What do you do when you hear something fall in the middle of the night while you are in bed?
Oh, wow. I have 2 answers for that one. Because there was a time in my life where I would panic blindly, like sit up bolt upright and go bonkers and be like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? But nowadays I'm like, if they're going to come kill me, please, just do me a favor.
Well, yeah. Along with Chris, the same thing is I would be like wake up in a panic trying to figure like oh my God, is someone breaking in and things like that. Nowadays, with sleeping with a fan on, I don't necessarily hear as many things that go quote unquote bump in the night.
Right.
But like the one thing that I can hear fall is something usually in our bathroom, which is attached to our bedroom.
Okay, your master bath.
Yeah, something will fall off of the shower wall, like one of the squeegee thing. And I can recognize the sound of that plastic handle hitting the bottom of the bathtub. So now I can at least identify what that noise is, but I don't necessarily hear a ton of noise at night. Now, Randy, on the other hand, he's a light sleeper. If he hears any noise that's not necessarily one of the boys, he says his eyes like open, and then he's like trying to pinpoint it to see, does he have to go to and get anything or not?
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, no, nowadays I'm a lot more like, yeah, whatever. I'll tell you, I used to be one of the deepest sleepers I ever knew because, and Dan, you know, in my childhood home where I grew up, where my room was, right up front, overlooking the street, and there's a fire hydrant in front of the house. Okay, so in the summer between my freshman and sophomore years of college, I was home. Beautiful summer night. All the windows in the house are open. But then there's a car fire down the street, and fire engines are showing up, and the police are showing up, and the neighbors are all out about talking to each other. I didn't know about it until the next morning. Right?
I had a night like that in college too. Yeah.
But nowadays, I mean, oh man, I actually remember the night that I became a light sleeper. I remember it. It was my senior year. I was an RA in college, and I was on desk duty, and it was a thunderstorm outside. Okay, so that's all going on. You know, Mother Nature's rage is just in full effect, just having a party. And I'm like just taking it all in, whatever. But at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday, I'm doing my final rounds before I go to bed. And it's all quiet. the whole place is just dead quiet. I'm like, okay, so it's quiet. And I lay down and I get all tucked in, and I'm like, all right, I'll see you guys Saturday afternoon. I'm gonna sleep in. And then the biggest, loudest, most thunderous crack of thunder I had ever heard rips through the building. I mean, I was on the second floor of this particular dorm. I thought I could have sworn my first impression of the third floor of the dorm just got ripped off. That's how loud it was, right? And I sat bolt upright and just stared at the ceiling for a second, and then I hear another crack of thunder, and I remember getting out of bed, walking out the door, looking around, going, "What the hell?" Everything's still quiet, nobody's screaming, the fire alarms are not ringing. And then I try to go back to bed, and another one. Just as I'm fading off, another one. That was it. I was never a deep sleeper ever again. It was just wow. Oh God, it was horrible. I couldn't do it.
Traumatized by
a thunderstorm.
Oh, I tell you, it's one thing that, like, growing up as a child in the house in Avon, my bedroom was on the second floor. My parents had their room on the first floor. And I had 5 windows in my room before they put addition on over the kitchen to change the roof line. So and then I went from 5 windows to 3 windows.
No.
But
travesties.
But there's huge maple trees and everything all outside the house. And granted, it's in the country, things like that. Thunderstorms in the middle of the night would terrify me because it truly was like cracking like right above my head. And then all of a sudden, it's like, what would you do in the middle of the night if you heard something, whatever? All of a sudden, it's like feet running down the stairs and jumping onto my parents' bed and crawling in with them. And they're like, it's just a thunderstorm. It's just the thunderstorm. They didn't understand until I moved out of the house and they moved their room up to my old room.
Okay.
Now they understand.
Now they get it.
Because they didn't realize, because they were kind of insulated and protected being on the first floor.
Right.
And they didn't realize that, like, a crack of thunder on the second floor right outside the window, and there's big trees and telephone wires that go right to the house right outside that room. Yeah, it's like it definitely terrified me in the middle of the night. So amazing. I would jump up and go running down the stairs at full tilt.
Okay,
Billy,
I have
how about
a story.
You, Ben?
I didn't like this one. My house has been broken into twice.
I'm sorry.
I knew you guys right the last
that.
time it happened, like 5 years ago, when I was living just a few blocks from you, where you live now, Chris. What?
Yeah.
So that house got broken into one afternoon while Susan and I weren't home, but about, I think it was like 1997, 1998. I was still working in a factory, and I had literally just bought that house like a month or two earlier. It was Good Friday. So Thursday night, I'd stayed up late to watch TV because I could, and went to bed. And like 1:30 on Good Friday, I'm sleeping. And all of a sudden, I hear someone coming up the stairs. Like I could hear the stairs creaking. I could hear footsteps on the stairs. And back then it was just me and one cat.
Oh.
And I'm a light sleeper, and I bolted, like sat upright. I go, hello, who's there? And heard him just run down the stairs and out the front door. But I was sweating like crazy. I was terrified. And
that would do me too, man. That's seriously. I would not be like, Billy Badass for that shit. I'd be scared.
It took me a second. I got up and I went down the stairs. Front door was open, wide open, and went into. And he only took 2 things. I'll tell you what those were in just a second, and you'll laugh maybe.
Okay.
But he only wound up with 2 things. When I went into my living room, he had disconnected the stereo. The window was open. There was an open window, and also I had a sliding door that led out into the backyard. That's how I got it. He sliced the the netting and then jimmied the lock on the door and slid the door open. Back then I wasn't smart enough to have like a broomstick or something to keep that door from opening. So he jimmied the lock, opened, came in, started disconnecting stuff. But back then it was or maybe just as the flat screen TVs were showing up. I didn't have one. I had the world's heaviest television. So he didn't wind up with that. He'd had the stereo disconnected, but hadn't done anything with it. And had a couple things sort of scattered, but didn't take anything. Now, I called the police who came, took them. They never found him. But the only things he wound up with were a flip phone that I had, and I had this really cool Spider-Man jacket that Weez had given me. Back when the Spider-Man cartoon was on Fox. And Fox had this piece of promotional clothing, gave to Weez. Weez gave it to me, and I love that jacket. So I used to like look for people going down the street wearing that jacket, I mean, that was scary. I called the police. I made sure my cat didn't get out because I only had Geraldine at the time. She hid. She was under a piece of furniture, luckily, because I didn't want to close anything or touch anything till the police showed up. And they took fingerprints and stuff, but they never found anybody. But that's what I did. I yelled, and the guy ran down the stairs. And ever since then, I wonder why he was coming up the stairs. And I was wondering, maybe he was looking for like a laundry basket to put stuff in. Or I don't know why he came upstairs. I mean, and it may have even looked like...
Well, somebody who broke into my house one time ganked my backpack, and they just dumped all of the contents out. And then use that to.
I think maybe whoever it was thought no one was home because the lady who'd owned the house before me. Now, I used to live in just the upstairs of that house, and she lived downstairs, so there was always a car in her driveway. And then she moved out, and there's no car because I don't drive. So maybe he just thought the house didn't have anyone in it at the time, that the person went away on vacation or whatever, and was coming upstairs. And when I heard the stairs, man, did I break out into like, my heart was racing. Like, I'll still remember how my heart was racing for that.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, you'll remember that for a long time to come.
He didn't trash the house. I had to have the screen replaced in my back sliding door, but other than that, I got lucky that time. Unlike the last time, like 5 years ago, when they basically stole our life. So...
Oh,
well, we were at a Comic-Con in Buffalo, strangely enough.
Those darn Buffalo Comic-Cons.
FC3. Exactly.
Yeah, stay with the Rochester ones. Yeah,
there you go.
So, if someone breaks in my house, I'm going to cry.
I'll tell you a fun memory of being a light sleeper, though. There was a point in time in between college and marriage life where I lived with Dan, right? And we had a townhouse in Irondequoit, and
it was a great place.
We had such a fun time. But I remember at night, usually 1 o'clock in the morning, I would wake up for whatever reason, and I'd be laying there staring at the ceiling, just kind of getting myself relaxed to go back to sleep. And I would know he was up, because I could munch. Because this guy would sit there, he would sit in bed reading all night long, eating a box of Cheerios. He always had a box of Cheerios right next to it. Do you still do that?
Not in bed, no. I read that on the box of Cheerios in bed.
Oh man, it would be comforting. It'd be like, okay, my best friend's in the house. Good. Okay, good. There's just consistent. Everything is good in the world.
He's in the house and he has Cheerios. It's all good.
How many Cheerios did you find in bed?
I was pretty good at.
Yeah, he never let anything go to waste.
I love my Cheerios. I still do.
I think about you every time I buy Cheerios at the store too. This is definitely a Dan thing.
There you go.
Oh man, well that's fun. Good. See, we'll end it at a light note there.
Yeah.
So, all right, my friends, we'll call a wrap on that one. That sounds like a good place to end the evening on. And to my friends and family out there listening to all of our shenanigans here, I wish you well. Can't wait to talk to you guys again next week with the gang. I hope you have a safe weekend and a healthy weekend. And we will talk to you all again soon. So for Dan and for Billy, for Tanya and for myself, I am Chris. And this is Cue the Music, baby. FC3's Monkey Business, a product of the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic Con, coming at you like a spider monkey September 19th and 20th of 2020 at the Total Sports Experience in Gates. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us wherever we go, and we will lead you to where the entertainment is. Take care. Love you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.